So, a lot of you are probably wondering why they put the logo up there. Well, actually, my name is Ted, and good evening, everybody. My TED Talk today, which is actually happening every day, technically, is about the art of not caring. Now, what is the art of not caring? Well, I would say that despite the name, it's actually about self-care. And this is bound to get a little personal, so let me start, like any good TED Talk does, with a little story about myself. When I was around 9, I had to move school quite suddenly to a school where my brother was attending. Now, at that school, he made quite a bit of an unfavorable reputation for himself. And so, being 9-year-olds, the kids at that school thought that they could get to him by bullying me, and made the assumption that since they didn't like my brother, they surely would not like me. So, surprisingly, I got bullied. I would be mocked for everything I did that was considered not normal. I would be shamed for any mistakes I made, or anything I do, it feels wrong. It feels like I'm doing something wrong. And the moment that kind of signified it for me was the one time I did try to stand up for myself, I got slapped right across the face. And so that got me thinking, right? Now, as a 15-year-old, having moved schools, have 6 more years of experience, and now in a much better spot emotionally, how can I use this experience to enhance my TED Talk that I first joined because, well, it felt like I had to. So then it got me to realize, actually, a good portion of the emotional pain I felt was, by some part, it was caused by myself letting it get to me. So what point am I making? Well, judging from the lack of laughter, you guys are a pretty nice crowd. And no, that wasn't an actual fall. But that fall was to prove a point. You see, when people fall over, when something is coming fast at us, we have a reflex. We defend ourselves. We let our bodies, the part of our bodies that doesn't get as damaged, hit the floor, in this case, extending my hand to catch myself. But what about when we get hurt emotionally? Well, what I tend to observe is that we get stressed, we get angry, sometimes we cry, sometimes we break down. It's a response that drives us into what is basically an emotional spiral. And so, I've broken the way I manage this into quite simple steps. Well, simply not working. But as you can see, simple. Well, of course not. I'm not going to make it that complicated. Let's simplify it a little more. Upon receiving a negative opinion, I find it useful for the first step to just receive. A lot of times our immediate reaction is to be feeling sad, angry, frustrated. But what I like to tell myself is that it's just an information, just a piece of information. We don't know if it's true, we don't know if it's not true. And so that brings me on to what I consider my second step, the reflection step. This is to judge whether that negativity is actually true, whether that applies to you. Because sometimes a lot of things you think about yourself that's negative, or people say about you that's negative, sometimes it isn't even real. And maybe from an outsider perspective, maybe looking back at things or looking at things from afar, we can see what's true and what's not. But when you're in an emotionally dark spot, frankly, it's hard to tell if the truth is just horrible or if it's lies. That brings me on to my third point. And this is the point I feel like a lot of people actually miss. The evaluation. The evaluation isn't a score. It's not a grading system. How bad is this negative opinion? 5 out of 10? No. It's an evaluation of whether that something, if it applies to you, actually needs to be changed. See, we humans, we try to be our best selves. Well, at least I hope we do. But sometimes we forget that our flaws are human. In fact, it is one of the most ingrained human thing to be imperfect. So maybe that flaw, maybe that thing, isn't something you need to fix. Because our imperfections are part of our identity. And if you try to fix everything, you end up losing yourself. Then comes the final step. And this is the hardest, taking action. Now, taking action is what I would like to call simply difficult. Changing the way we are, changing the way we live, changing our habits, it is one of the most unnatural things to do, and it is one of the most difficult. It requires persistence, time, effort, and work. However, it is also the most important step. Now, the way you successfully take action to improve yourself, to strive towards a better you, that's deeply personal. And my only message to leave before my time runs out is that when you fall, catch yourself, extend your hand, get back up, and walk on. Walk on through the pain, and you'll never walk alone. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.